Priority offers several different options for recording the receipt of goods from vendors or the return of goods to a vendor. You can record a vendor invoice, which triggers both an inventory transaction and a corresponding journal entry for the shipment or return. Use negative quantities to indicate returned items. Record a goods receiving voucher, which triggers an inventory transaction, but does not generate a journal entry for the shipment. Here too you can use negative quantities to indicate returned items. Items recorded in this document can then be linked to the corresponding financial document and/or budget item. Record a return document, which triggers an inventory transaction, but does not generate a corresponding journal entry. Items recorded in this document can then be linked to the corresponding financial document and/or budget item. In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to work with a GRV to record the receipt of goods and how to open a return document for received items that are subsequently returned. Detailed information on working with vendor invoices is available elsewhere. As with many other documents, Priority enables you to link each GRV or vendor return document to a related document, such as a purchase order. This serves a dual function. Firstly, it enables you to easily move back and forth between related documents, ensuring a transparent view of the purchase process, from the purchase requisition to the receipt of ordered goods and subsequent invoicing. Secondly, this feature enables you to automatically itemize each document recorded during the purchase process on the basis of the previous one. This can save your staff valuable time and reduce errors associated with manual data entry. Let's go ahead and demonstrate how to record a GRV for purchased items based on an existing purchase order. To do so, we'll open the Goods Receiving Voucher form from the Purchase Inventory Transactions menu and select the vendor that supplied the goods. Today's date is filled in automatically, and the GRV is assigned a unique document number. Note that the document is initially assigned to you and receives the default initial status, but either of these values may be revised at any time. The receiving warehouse and bin are also filled in automatically based on default definitions, but may be revised. At this stage, it's a good idea to record the receiving document's reference number in the vendor's doc column. This is generally the number of the vendor's shipping document or invoice. Next, we're going to link the GRV to the desired purchase order items. Before you begin, you can choose whether the GRV is to be itemized with all ordered items or only with those that are due by a particular date. Specifically, if a due date is indicated in the To Due Date column, only those order items that are due on or prior to this date will be copied automatically into the GRV when you link it to a purchase order, as we're about to do. We're now ready to indicate one or more purchase orders that are supplied by this GRV, either in full or in part. If all of the received items appear in a single purchase order, simply choose that order from a list of open purchase orders recorded for the current vendor. You can also use the Purchase Orders for GRV sublevel form to link the GRV to multiple purchase orders. Hold down the Control key to make multiple selections. Alternatively, you can select individual items from one or more purchase orders in the parallel Choose Order Items sublevel form by flagging the Choose Item column. The lists of orders and items available for selection in these two sublevel forms are populated with all open, authorized purchase orders from the designated vendor that are intended for the designated receiving warehouse. Before moving on, let's take a moment to highlight some of the other columns in the References tab, which can be used to link the GRV to other relevant documents. For instance, the GRV for Cancellation column enables you to indicate that the current document cancels out a previous GRV that has already been finalized. The Vendor Invoice and Internal Invoice columns can be used to link the GRV to an existing invoice in the event that you have already been billed for the received goods. When such a GRV is finalized, it is automatically flagged as billed. The Shipment Subcontract column is used in organizations that subcontract part of the production process in order to link processed goods that are received from the subcontractor to the earlier document recording their shipment. Finally, the vendor return document column enables you to record the receipt of new or repaired parts following the return of one or more defective items in a previous vendor return document. When any of these columns are used to link a GRV to an existing document, the GRV is itemized accordingly. Additional information pertaining to each of these columns is provided in the column Help, which is accessed by pressing F1 from the relevant form column. Moving next to the Price tab, flag the GRV as billable, indicating that the vendor has not yet billed you for the goods in this shipment. Note that the vendor's default currency is filled in automatically. However, this can be revised if necessary. Finally, click the Shipment tab and indicate the relevant shipping method and shipper. You can also link the shipment to a specific project if necessary in the Project tab. Let's enter the Received Items sublevel form next, in order to review the received parts and their details. This form has been filled in automatically with all open items in the purchase orders that we linked to the GRV. The Balance to Receive column displays a balance of ordered parts that have yet to be received, excluding the current receipt. If this balance accurately reflects the received quantity, flag the Approve column. As you can see, the Quantity column has now been filled in accordingly. Once the entire ordered quantity is supplied, the corresponding order item will be closed automatically. Note that you can also define order tolerance levels for specific parts in the Inventory Parameters for Parts form, so that order items will be closed even if a relatively small percentage of the order, say 5%, has not actually been shipped or received. If only a portion of the balance has been received, specify the received quantity manually. Alternatively, if you are receiving packed goods, you can indicate the type of packing crate and the number of crates received in the provided columns. The received quantity will be calculated automatically, based on the crate's capacity. If one or more order items were copied into the GRV, but were not received in the current shipment, simply leave the quantity as 0. These lines will be deleted automatically once the GRV is final. Note that the system also enables you to receive goods into inventory as numbered lots, by means of the internal lot work order column. If your company maintains internal lot numbers for inventory, for instance as part of the production process, you can determine ahead of time whether the system will automatically copy the vendor lot number into this column, assign a lot number automatically using a predefined template, or simply leave this column blank. You can also open the raw material lots form directly from this form if necessary, in order to view any existing lots recorded for the current part. Alternatively, when you receive processed goods from a subcontractor, you can use the internal lot work order column to link received goods to the work order for which they are intended. The adjacent columns can then be used to indicate the date when the designated lot or work order was opened, as well as the date on which it expires. If a shelf life is defined for the current part, an expiration date will be filled in automatically, based on the lot's start date. Next, let's turn our attention to the order and line columns. These display the number of the purchase order being filled by this shipment and the line in that order in which each received part appears. Since the company is being billed for the entire shipment, we also need to make sure all received items are flagged as billable. Each received item can also be linked to a budget item and a profit cost center if applicable. Both columns are filled in automatically from the purchase order, but may be revised. Note that Priority automatically traces charges to the budget through the entire chain of purchasing transactions, even if the document recorded at a particular stage is not a financial document, such as in the case of a purchase order or, in the current example, a GRV. The system rolls charges from one stage to the next, as each transaction is recorded, ensuring that the budget is charged once, and only once, for a given item. This functionality ensures that you can accurately compare budget appropriations with actual expenses or income through the entire chain of purchasing transactions. The unit price and item discount are also filled in automatically from the purchase order. Either or both of these values can be revised if necessary. Note that the price source appears in the corresponding column, as does the total extended price, including any applicable discounts. A variety of additional definitions can be recorded for each item in various sub-levels of the received item's form. For instance, if serial numbers are maintained for one of the received parts, you can open new serial numbers for the part in the auto-recording of serial numbers sub-level form, or link the part to an existing serial number in the serial numbers in transaction sub-level form. Moreover, if you monitor the quality control of goods received from vendors, you can use the analysis results sub-level form to record the results of any quality control tests performed for a particular part or lot, rather than opening a separate document for this purpose. If any of the tests returns an unacceptable result, the item is automatically flagged as unacceptable in the received item's form. Conversely, if all test results are acceptable, the item is flagged as acceptable. If additional tests need to be performed for a given item, you can indicate this by flagging the check-in column. Items that are flagged for check-in will not be billed along with the remainder of the document until the check mark is removed. Finally, you can view all open sales orders for any of the received items in the corresponding sub-level form. This is particularly useful when receiving goods that were specially purchased for a particular sales order. Alternatively, return to the upper level form and select Open Sales Order for received parts from the list of direct activations in order to view all open sales orders for the parts listed in this document. Before finalizing the GRV, let's click the Price tab in order to check the final price of the received goods, including the applicable taxes and discounts. Once you are satisfied that all definitions are correct, click the General tab in order to update the document status, indicating that it is now considered final. In our example, we are going to change the document's status to final, then exit and re-enter the record. As with most system documents, the properties of each GRV status, as well as other workflow definitions, are illustrated in a BPM flowchart, from which they can be updated as necessary. As per the BPM rules defined for the final status, the changes we just made to the GRV triggered the following automated responses. The GRV was reassigned to Jerry, who works in the finance department, and an email was sent to Jerry notifying him that the GRV is now ready for billing. If the purchase order supplied by this GRV is based on the purchase demand, you can also arrange to have an email notification sent automatically to the initiating user when the purchase goods are received. At this stage, you may want to print a copy of the GRV for your files. To do so, simply select Print GRV from the list of direct activations. You can also run a program that prepares labels for the received items in a designated work area, from which they can subsequently be printed. Let's say that one of the parts received in the GRV we just recorded was later found to be faulty, and we decided to return it to the vendor. As previously noted, the return of goods can also be recorded in the GRV. For instance, the next time we record a GRV for this vendor, we can add a line for the faulty part, using a negative quantity. Alternatively, we can record the return of goods in the designated vendor return document. Like the goods receiving voucher, the Returns to Vendor form is accessed from the Purchase Inventory Transactions menu. Likewise, the procedure for recording a return document is fairly similar to the procedure we just used to record a GRV. Specify the date the goods were returned, the number of the vendor that supplied the goods, and the warehouse from which the goods are being returned. The document number, status, and assigned user are all filled in automatically. Next, click the References tab to link the return to any related documents. In this case, we'll link it to our GRV. But you can also use the other columns in this tab to link a return document to a purchase order or an RMA document. Finally, click the Price tab and flag the Credit from Vendor column to ensure that you are credited for the returned goods. Enter the returned items sub-level form. The parts and their details have been filled in automatically according to the linked GRV. We'll begin by deleting the lines for any items that are not being returned and then update details for those that are. Since this return is based on a specific GRV, the Balance to Return column has been filled in with the quantity received from the vendor in the original GRV. If this balance accurately reflects the quantity being returned, flag the Approve column. As you can see, the quantity column has now been filled in accordingly. Note that additional details have also been copied automatically from the GRV, such as a linked purchase order. As a result of this link between vendor return and purchase order, the order balance for the returned part is automatically updated in the original purchase order. Moreover, if the item had been linked to a budget item or a profit cost center in the original GRV, these details would be copied into the return document as well, ensuring that budget usage data is always up to date. Once you are satisfied that all definitions are correct, return to the upper level form in order to change the document status to final. Once the GRV or return document is final, you can still make certain minor revisions from within the revision of final GRV or revision of final vendor return forms respectively, so long as no invoice has been issued yet. If you need to make more significant revisions, you'll need to reopen the document in question by selecting the relevant program from the list of direct activations. Don't forget to change the document status back to final when you are done making your revisions. Finally, let's review several of the reports available in Priority for following up on vendor shipments and returns. The Goods Received from Vendors report displays all receipts of materials into inventory over a specified period. The report is sorted by date and displays for each received part the quantity received, the vendor that supplied it, the receiving warehouse, and the GRV number. A similar report is available for the return of goods to vendors as well. In addition, you can generate a report of unbilled GRVs over a designated period from the Accounts Payable Reports, Aging and Open Invoices menu. This concludes our demonstration of Priority's tools for documenting the receipt and return of purchased goods.